There is something really special in the way animals, in this case our dogs, are enjoying every exercise that you put them in. In this case, sawdust from our machine saw. Well, good morning. Welcome to the homestead. We're very glad that you're here. So today we're going to work on a couple of projects that are more relating to making our life easier around the homestead and using some creativity to change something from what it was intended to something that can work for us and make sense for us and what we're going to do. So stick around because this is going to be a fun episode. So this is a garbage can cart that it is very inexpensive, less than $20, but something that we do not have the tooling to build. So we bought it. Because when I was thinking of building it, the wheels, each wheel alone that I would need was about $19 that you can buy. You can not buy these cheap ones, right? So for less than one wheel, I bought it. And we are going to not use it as a garbage can cart, however. We're going to modify it, and that's the fun from DIY, right? Taking something and changing its purpose. So we're going to modify it to become a portable workbench and a portable place that we can put things as we reorganize things around our homestead. So let's talk about how we're going to do it. So contrary to our normal do not measure mantra, sometimes you have to have a general idea.
Oh no.
I know.
What is that?
That is called a measuring tape.
Are you sure?
Yeah, and we need to have a jar, like a curse jar.
Oh, and every time you use a measuring tape, you got to put something
Right.
in it? Oh.
And then when we reach enough money, we buy a new tool.
I don't think that's fair to the rest of
I
us
think
in
that's
this
a good
project.
idea, no? This is DIY, what do you think?
I think if it encourages the use of a measuring tape, sometimes that's a good thing.
So we need to get just a general idea, right, of dimensions. So from end to end, this is 20 and a half. See, that's why I don't like measuring tapes. And 44. 20 and a half and 44. Now, a couple of design things. This is designed to hold 2 full cans of trash, right? So the rated capacity by manufacturing is 200 pounds. These are always underrated, so it can easily carry 300 or 400 pounds. When it is loaded for us, we're not going to be moving it. The wheels are only to take it around the homestead, right? We do not plan to have it loaded and moving. So, what was it, 20 and a half by 44. So let's go inside and calculate how much wood we want. So in addition to breaking the rules and measuring today, we're going to break the rules and calculate things today. So we're going to figure out, we know the dimensions, we need to figure out how much wood to buy, right? And we're going to buy, I forgot to say that, we're going to use cedar planks for 2 reasons, 3 reasons, 4 reasons. The first reason, it is inexpensive. The second reason, it is
Lightweight.
lightweight, right? It is not a heavy wood because we don't want to use most of the capacity of this with the wood. And yet, it is strong enough that can carry things on, right? The fourth reason is that it is water resistant, and this is going to live outside. Does that make a good sense?
A good sense, yes.
Excellent. So each board is what?
5.5 inches wide by 6 feet tall.
Is it 6 or 8?
6.
And we said our dimensions is our width is 20 and a half, right? And our length is 44. Mrs. DIY,
Yes.
44?
Yeah.
And 20 and a half. All right, so since our length is 44, we need to divide that by 5.5 to see how many boards we need, how many widths we need, right? And that is 8 because I'm that amazing in math. And so, deep apologies for the lack of my artistic skill, but this is the frame we're going to work on, right? So we calculated we're going to need a total of 10 boards. And how we came up to this number. For each of the, let's call it a deck layer, right? A deck layer will require 3 boards. And we're thinking we're going to make 2 decks plus a couple of boards extra for trimming and things of this nature. So to play it safe, 10 boards. So the next step is to go to the store and buy 10 boards of cedar post fence. What is it called?
Pickets.
Pickets.
Cedar pickets.
Cedar pickets. Here we come. So we're in the back from the store, and we have our lumber, and now we are ready to start planing it. Now planing is not necessary. We want to make it a little smoother. This is kind of a rough edge board. You can build it this way. We decided to plane it, but if you don't have a planer, you can also use a sander, right? You can use an orbital sander or even a hand sander. Again, that's an optional step. We chose to do it, so we're going to try and do it in one big assembly to plane all of them at the same time.
And the thought process behind planing it is that we hopefully prevent some splinters.
Right. Hopefully.
Okay.
You can just take it, put it down.
Put it down. Yes. You need to lower this a little bit so it's. Am I going down?
I think so. Okay, not too much here. It pinch me. A little more up. Cedar finishes amazingly. When you just plane these boards, the outcome, you can already see here how taking the roughness of the wood reveals a very nice grain, almost furniture grade material. I love this wood and I use it for a lot of different things. Initially I started using it because of cost, but I fell in love with it and how easily it processes. Again, you do not need to have a planer. You can achieve the identical result using some sanding, either power sanding or hand sanding. But of course, like anything else, this power tool makes the whole process substantially faster, whereas sanding will take you a long time to finish, but the result will be identical. Just look at this board. Passing through the planer, you think it transforms into a totally different type of board. I just love it, and I could not even express to you the wonderful smell that comes out as we are machining these pieces of wood. Too bad YouTube does not have smell vision still. So we're going to do that in an assembly line process. We'll be fitting board by board, changing the thickness until we have all the boards nice and looking smooth the way we want them. If you're sanding, set a similar process, right? Start sanding board by board. This will take a little bit of time, so we're not going to bore you with this. We'll get right back when we're done. So about half an hour later or so,
Half an hour, 3 days.
we have 3 days.
Like 3 days.
We have this to sew, right? But look at this wood, guys. I didn't think this was hiding behind that what we bought, right?
No, but it's gorgeous.
I almost don't want to use it, but I will use it. Now, first what we learned, these were widely different thicknesses, right?
Wildly, yes.
In the past we have experienced different thicknesses, but this was the worst batch I think we've gotten.
Right. And I think visually you wouldn't necessarily see it, but when you're feeding it through this machine and it's incremental when you're making those adjustments, it was very obvious what the differences were.
Well, some of them wouldn't go through.
Right,
with
right.
That much of it.
So you're having to make many more adjustments than we anticipated in trying to run all the boards through sequentially.
So our next step is we're going to set a miter stop to cut them to length. So because we have many cuts to make and we're trying to speed up the process, so we might end up regretting this, but we're cutting 3 boards at a time.
And there's your stop at our particular length.
Always remember, repeatability is much more important than accuracy in woodworking. As long as we have the same length, we are good. I decided we need how many? 6?
16.
Oh, yeah, so 16 total.
Well, we'll do the first.
First?
Yeah. Stop blocks ensure that repeated cuts are all the same length and eliminate the need to measure over and over, which in turn eliminate error from your projects. That will make it 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to probably need more, but let's start with this. Okay, and now we're going to move to our assembly area. So our next step will be to rip this board to about this thickness, which we decided is what we're going to make our structural element on top of the deck from. which will allow us to connect the deck to the rail and also to build a structure above it if we end up doing that. So as we always do, we use that piece to set our blade. So we're going to have the same pieces, the same thickness. And now we're going to put the actual piece we're going to cut to set our blade height. And we like our blade to be just above the surface, right? I think that's the safest way to do the cut. There are always going to be different opinions regarding how high you should put your blade. I think that putting your blade just proud of the thickness of the piece you're cutting makes it a safer way to use your table saw, because even if you were to put your hand over the blade, while you will get injured, you're not going to lose a finger or have a much more serious injury. If your blade protrudes a lot, how much the blade protrudes decides how much of your flesh the blade will take. So, while opinions will vary, I still maintain this is the safest way to rip wood, because even in an accident, you're going to have the least amount of impact. This is how the first deck will look like. And the piece we cut is going to frame it, so we can have more meat to screw from underneath, and also to keep those boards together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to put them.
So it's going to provide structural support. It'll be framing there. It will add additional space for the screws to come from the bottom, and it'll be a little bit of a lip, so if you have small pieces, they won't roll off or...
But wait,
right?
There is more. Yes, all of the above.
And look at that amazing cedar. It just looks awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome.
Okay, so this is our frame. I'll just back it out a little bit. Here is our frame. This is the top level, and we have these nice little brackets here. Can I see that one? This is what it looks like, and it has been attached in this manner. It's going to go there.
It hasn't been attached yet. This is the dry fit.
Well, it's around the pole at least. It's around the pole. And then the idea is that we're going to bring the screw up through here, up to the second one. It's going to attach to the board and then also attach to that upright member that we're going to cut here. And
the reason we chose this is because the plastic grommet here is going to prevent us from scraping the frame, since it's going to be live outside, minimize any chance of rust.
Right, and the frame is supposed to, because we're attaching them on this side, it's supposed to lift up in this way.
Correct.
And so by using these protected plastic ones, it'll keep from scratching the...
Correct. Now the tricky part is that we're going to have a piece of wood here, and we have to align that as we go along, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we attach the first screw, and this is our top. As you can see, it's not sturdy yet because we have to do all of them. But now we're going to align all our pieces on both sides. These are theoretically exactly the same, but cannot be exactly different, of course. These are the same, right?
Yep.
All right, so we're going to align them and get right back. For the importance of dry fitting, and also if someone wants to do this exact product that we're doing, when you assemble this, for this specific project, it's very critical that your dimensions, the width down the whole the whole frame is correct. We were a little off, and we found that we were off because the boards, while aligned, they were clearly not covering the same area of the tube.
So at that end, they were overlapping that and going off, and when we got down here, actually you could see the frame outside the board.
Correct.
Even though everything here was lined up correctly. So to adjust that, we opened up one of these a little bit, loosened it, brought this part of the frame in, remeasured it, and then tightened it again, and then double checked the measurement at the top and at the bottom.
And now we're going to check, let's align it and see if we are correct.
Okay.
Never skip a dry fitting in your projects. It can reveal mistakes before you make them and can help you adjust the way you build something. I wish we have done more dry fitting in this project, as I changed my mind and the second deck came much faster and better aligned than the first one. But you're doing things and you learn. That's why it's called DIY. Learn as you go. A little bit of hand sewing to get the piece in the dimension we want. And we most certainly start really enjoying these little hand saws.
Oh, yeah.
We've been using them a lot, and they are sometimes faster than setting up another saw.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So here we are. The deck is finished and it is barely, the wood is so light, we didn't really add a lot of weight. It's very easy to move around. So we're going to just put a screw on each corner because now it's held by pressure alone. As it's clear here, our boards were not aligned correctly. And looking back, I think the problem was actually our clamps. They were just not as exact as I was hoping when we were attaching them. And as a result, we're a little off. I'll just have to trim it again and then product will be great.
This is 17 and 5.
So we are going to build an identical frame on top of the frame we already have. The frame we already have is not square. It is a little off. It's not horrible, but it is not perfect, right? So the idea is we're going to build an identical on top of it, and we're going to attach the second deck to it. So all we're going to do now is just attach it with screws on the corner. A pilot hole is a good idea because these are reasonably small pieces. In general, we only had one split in the whole project, so it's not a critical thing, but one split is a split too many. And this is something you need 98 hands. It is interesting here that the most powerful flex makes it harder to drive the screws compared to the less powerful Hercules. Something to think about. And already as we're building it, we see the value of this little platform because we're using it to put our tools. We have screws and bits and the measuring tape, God forbid, and the extra drill. So we already see the utility of having this around. Same process as before, we're setting a stop block and we're going to cut all 9 pieces. We're using 3 boards at a time. We're going to cut the 9 pieces very, very quickly. When you do that, all you have to do is making sure that your pieces are aligned correctly in the end. And just like that, we have 3. So we're building the second deck, and this we do want to look a little better than the first deck. So hopefully it will. Let's do a dry fit first, right? Just make sure the first doesn't move. This is almost too nice for the purpose I'm planning to use it. I can see that as a nice table, couldn't you?
Oh yeah.
This looks very nice. Wow. I'm impressed with it. So all we care is that we have something to screen, right? And we look good, I think. Okay. Yeah, that looks great. So now we can remove them and start attaching them.
So we've gotten these floorboards already attached and using 2 screws per board. Actually, I guess we got 3. We've got the 4th one lined up here. And it's lining up really well with the frame that we built and coming together very nicely.
And here is our dry fit. You see the 2 levels? We decided the 3rd level doesn't make any sense. It's just too low, right? And really, we didn't need it to be lifting either. We have made the build. So we found out assembling the second deck that it would be simpler and quicker to assemble both decks the same way. But this is the first time we did this project, but you get an idea of how it would look. We're going to strengthen it and that will be the end of it for this project. So we'll be right back with you. So we're going to pre-drill holes to attach our posts to the 2 decks. And we're going to use 2 screws per post. 2 screws per post support the whole weight, and it is all you need for this specific project. Drilling pilot holes ensure that you are not going to split the wood. Not a critical component for something like this, but whenever you get to build better furniture, it is a good idea and it's a good practice to get into. Making pilot holes makes your projects look nice. This is DIY and Peter are getting assembled mold here. Knocking it out of the park. Yep. So here we are. This is really not heavy at all. Why don't you come here and try it and see that you would think it's very heavy, but it really isn't.
No, it's really not. And that was one of the reasons why you wanted the cedar, because it's a very lightweight wood. So
and technically, if this was built to just stay stationary, I would stop here. This is very stupid. It feels really good. But because it's going to be mobile, I want to reinforce the corners. To that end, I cut some 45s, and I'm going to put them in each corner. And I think that will make it very nice and sturdy. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, excellent.
So we're going to attach all 8 of those braces. Come back and show you what it looks like.
Yep. Brad nails are a quick and easy way to make this attachment, and if you want more reinforcement you can use screws later. All right. So we went from a garbage can mover cart to this mobile workspace, a temporary placement that we can use throughout the homestead, right? This was not very expensive. The wood was $40. And what other material? We used some scraps, screws, and the scraps were 2x4s that would cut into 1x1, 1.5 by 1x1, right? It is unbelievably secure, right? It feels much steadier than it is, and really, it is almost too nice, to be honest. I'm afraid of scratch. It looks really good, don't you think?
Yeah.
It is amazing looking, and I think this would be a great pallet wood project if you didn't want to spend the money to buy cedar. What did surprise us on this? What surprised us in this build? I really didn't need to buy the clamps. They were not necessary, right?
Not really.
And there is no reason for it to be lifting anyway. I don't know what I was thinking about it. It complicated our design. It is when you do it correctly, I would build both decks the same we build the top deck, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And the only key is that the frames of the two decks are identical. Again, on our first deck, it was not square, so we purposely built the second off square, right? And as you notice, the edges are perfect. That does not affect the edge, it just affects the feet. Because if you see, our feet is very, very good. Well, folks, this is our episode for today. I'm looking forward to use this. Ladies, anything you want to add?
Well, I think just be really, careful with making sure that what you want as the finished look, everything lines up. And, it was really hard to keep everything straight and aligned while we were trying to manage getting them together. So the second time around, when we did the top, it was a lot easier because it was much more straightforward.
As I said, with what we know now, we would have built both decks together the way we built the second, and then attach them to the frame.
Right.
That would have been substantially easier on us and faster and less headachy. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, we'd appreciate a thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the other button twice. Share, like, subscribe. From Professor DIY, Mrs. DIY, and Elpida, let's build something together.